Legal Eagles, welcome back. We are joined by Ras Nabil. So, Ras, you can turn on your video. So, Ras, excellent. We are having a feast, intellectual feast here, talking about human rights and then looking into the historical, functional, and institutional context. That has been amazing. Now, let's focus on more about you and your achievements as a student and as a budding scholar. Um, and I must say that you have been one of my brightest students. One of those students from whom I actually learn also. I mean, apart from teaching, this is also one of my um, I think duty as a student and as a researcher to always keep an eye on students who particularly perform very well and have the potential to do very well in future. So I just want to ask. I mean, I have found you that you're very disciplined. Like I found you as very like if I were to imagine a student, a perfect student, like you will definitely come to my mind. Of course, there were some issues that we can talk about off the record. um, but generally, like I found that you would do all your readings, and there were actually some common characteristics of what I call my ideal students. And by the way, it's just not in terms of your CGPA or in terms of your grade. Um, it's just all about your attitude towards studies. So I just want to know what's your motivation. So what is it that make you work so hard and stay so much focused?
Sir, first of all, thank you very much for these kind words. I'm kind of overwhelmed with your compliments. But in terms of discipline, I always tell people that I think the key to doing well, particularly in university or in school, is time management. And to be able to manage your time well is perhaps the most important resource that everyone can have. So I it's very common to hear that people pull all nighters the night before an exam, or like write an essay the night before the submission date. But I would never do that. I would always plan well ahead. So I would have, like my essay topic planned as soon as you would say, okay, guys, there's a new essay coming up. You have to submit it on this date. As soon as you would say that, I would start thinking about topics. And then within that week, I would have like a plan, a structure. Then I would just incrementally add words to the essay so that it would become like a fully fledged essay just before the deadline, so that I have time to read through, proofread, and all that. Um, so I think time management is very important, and I would never, for example, study for extremely long hours. I've always been very active in like extracurricular activities as well. I've done theater for a long time. I've done music for a long time. I was on the tennis team at LUMS as well, and I try to stay active. I try to stay fit. Otherwise, and I do take out time a lot for my social life as well. So I don't necessarily try to shut out everything just for my studies. I try to maintain a good balance, and that is very difficult, obviously. But once you get the hang of time management, I think it becomes very easy. Um, so yeah, I would just try and do my readings on time so that I could go, play tennis, or I could go if I would have like rehearsals, I would go. And essentially, so that is sort of my strategy, if you could call it that. It's just about making sure you have enough of everything in a day, and you don't necessarily completely close off one thing for the other. And physical health, mental health, very important. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say about this.
I think, Ross, you're not telling us the secret. So your secret of, how you balance these things out. So yes, you were just doing lots of extracurricular activities, but what was the motivation? So what was the trigger that was just motivating you to do all these things and balance out? I mean, I as a student would love to sleep for as long as I just want, right? So my record was 19 hours in one stretch, and then wanted to break it to make it to 20. For that I had to go to Oxford while PhD. So yeah, that I broke there. So yes, I mean, so what was it that was motivating you, that you just take all these participate in all these activities?
Sir, I just believe that I'm a very achievement oriented person, and I've heard it from a lot of people that I find a lot of happiness in trying to achieve things and trying to you know set personal records, or like do well in multiple aspects of life. And that has had its bad moments as well, because then it does cause a lot of stress and undue anxiety. And I don't think my parents, for example, have necessarily instilled that in me. I feel like um, well before my O level started, my IGCSE started, I think they stopped pressuring me to do well in school, or like do everything all at once and be great at everything. Um, I kind of sort of put it on myself, and I just feel like it gives someone a sense of direction and a sense of organization. So I think personally, for me, I'm a very achievement oriented person. I do acknowledge the fact that not everyone may be, and so when I put my mind to something, I do try and achieve it as quickly, as effectively as possible. Um, I don't know if there's a secret per se. I have been blessed a lot. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I've been very blessed with the sort of opportunities that have been presented to me. And so I do have to acknowledge that I have been privileged in that sense. But otherwise, I just try to stick true to what I want and like what I believe in, and it's about shutting off a lot of distractions, about shutting off a lot of haters. It's Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know
Okay.
if this is a very clear answer, but like it's
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
good
it
in
it it,
words.
it just so maybe it's the achievement, or the sense of making some development that really motivates you. But here, my question would be, and actually, all this has taken back to me 20 years into the history when I was a student in 2000, from 2000 to 2005. I also tried to participate in lots of extracurricular activities like debating and essay writing competitions. Um, and that was because that just gives you immediate results. So if you're a mooter, if you're a debater, you go and participate. Either you win or you lose, right? And same applies with respect to your essay. You submit it. Either you get a prize, or you don't get a prize. But I just remember, although eventually I just won many prizes, but I lost so many times, like, and it was quite frustrating, like, because moving to national and then international level, you may be the best debater in your university, but when you're competing at national or international level, you may or you may not win. So how does then how would you advise our viewers how to cope with that, right? And there might be so many other heartbreaks, right, apart from curricular and extracurricular achievements, right?
So I think I think I've also been sort of a victim of that. When you do something, or when you don't get what you want, you do have a lot of self-reflection, which then turns into sadness, even guilt sometimes. So I have been a victim of that. But I do think that slowly, slowly, it's about telling yourself that a loss or a defeat is part of the process, and um, if you don't get one thing, that just means you will get another. And you know, it's a lot of it has to do with attitude changes, and a lot of it has to do with how your mindset operates. And so if you're going to continue to beat yourself down for something that you didn't get, um, you're never going to actually gain that motivation to achieve something else. You're always going to um, beat yourself down for something that you didn't get, and that closes off a lot of the opportunities that you may have been able to avail otherwise. So again, it comes with time, and particularly I do consider myself to be a very competitive person, and sometimes um, it does cost me sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's about reminding yourself that this is all part of the process. There is always something better awaiting you in the future. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's nothing else to really say. It's just to be able to convince yourself that there is something better that lies ahead.
That's a great. I think Ras. Yeah, I think I just relate. It most of the time it wasn't about winning trophies or awards, but the whole process was also very important. So you
Yes.
when you prepare and then you go and you participate, and even when you lose. So my favorite strategy after losing was that I would just go to my room, put a pillow on my head and cry for some time, and that will just relieve. And then next day again for the next competition, right? This is how I just kept kept going. But let's move on to other issues. So we see that lots students face lots of difficulties, and one of the constant complaints that I've been hearing from my students primarily relates to 2 points. One is that most of their readings are in English, and English is not their first language. So, communication barrier. When I was studying at Islamic University, we had to learn Arabic also. So, medium of communication was not only English, but it was also Arabic, and it was a nightmare. I still remember. I think the hardest thing I have done in my life was doing my undergrad from International Islamic University. After that, doing masters or PhD, it was a piece of cake, right? So so maybe maybe you can tell us first of all how to deal with this issue of a language barrier, and second, most I think the recurrent complaint that I have received or the feedback from my students across the board in different universities wherever I have taught, either it was in Oxford during summer courses, or at LUMS, or in Egypt, right? So students, different color, different levels, but one thing was common: too many readings, too many readings. So how to deal with this issue?
Okay, so first on the language aspect, so I don't know if I'm the best person to speak on this because I grew up in Oman, and I grew up in a school that was obviously, because it was an international school, the medium of instruction, particularly for expatriate students, was in English. So I have always been very confident in English. I'm actually a lot more confident in English than I am in my mother tongue, which my parents always shame me about. But um, that also comes with a learning process itself. I used to read a lot. I would much rather read a book than watch a movie, and that just comes from the fact that reading not only forces you to exercise your own mental faculty in actually reading, but you learn a lot from reading. And so I think reading is the primary um, way in which I gained a better grasp on the English language. And I think that is one advice that I would have for people who might be struggling with English, is the fact that you just need to be able to read confidently, and reading confidently, that only comes with if you are able to um, if you can read as many books as possible that aren't necessarily legal books. Fiction is great, but do just expose yourself to as much literature out there as possible, because that is one way that you're going to be able to grasp that language a lot better. And again, I've also been trying to learn other languages. In school they taught me Arabic, they taught me French, and at home I would be learning Urdu with my parents. So obviously it's an entire learning process. I'm not perfect in either language, especially not in English or in Urdu, but you the grasp over a language only comes with how much you expose yourself to that language, and that comes through speaking it, reading it, writing it. And so as much as you are able to expose yourself to that, that is perhaps the best way to gain a grasp over that language. I am so sorry, the lighting is quite harsh on my face because I am facing the window, but please bear with that. Sir, if you could repeat the second question, because I feel like I lost my train of thought.
No, sorry, I'm just feeling. Are you okay? Are you in a comfortable position, or would you
Yeah,
like
yes, I
to?
just I'm just looking at my screen right now. It's but I'm perfectly fine.
No, I'm so sorry that these sessions have actually gone longer than they were planned. But I think we will take this opportunity because a number of students are joining us, and this is something which is very difficult to learn from books. So this is really first-hand experience from a student who has actually from two students, right? So I think I'm still a student with the chubby face and a big belly. um, and Ras is a student with the six packs and a very smart face, right?
That's
Because
lovely.
he
It's a work in progress.
Ras, I just want to ask you about your career plans. So you're going to Cambridge for your LLM. So would you like to tell us what are your career plans? What are you going to study, and then what do you want to do eventually when you finish your LLM?
Right. So I'm very blessed. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. I've received an offer from Cambridge to further LLM, and I would want to do. I don't believe Cambridge offers specialized LLMs, so that gives me the opportunity to explore different courses and then model my LLM around that. Areas of my interest. Again, human rights is a huge interest of mine, so I would like to um, pursue international human rights law as the core subject of my LLM. But I'm equally interested in other areas such as constitutional law, intellectual property law, environmental law, and I think international law in particular, public international law. So I do think the program does offer me that leeway to explore multiple subjects, even those that I may not have had the opportunity to do so in LUMS. Um, and so I think it's very important to go through that with an open mind, because when I was joining LUMS, when I applied to LUMS, again, I was looking to do commercial law or like corporate law. And then again, that was primarily based off, sort of TV shows and the sort of books you watch and read, where Suits, Boston Legal, all that type, where they're living the high life and they're earning so much money, and you're like, okay, great, that's what I want to do. But then when I came to LUMS, when I was exposed to different areas of law, I actually did not I was not that interested in commercial law at all, and I found greater interest in areas like jurisprudence. I really love jurisprudence. Legal theory, I love legal theory. I love human rights, public international law, Islamic law. Shared the course with you, that was absolutely amazing. And so I think it's important that people who are even thinking of applying for law degrees, be it undergrad or be it postgrad, I think it's important to realize that it's okay to have a change of heart, and that you should be open to it, because you don't know, you could be signing up for something, or you could be limiting yourself to something that you may not necessarily be very happy about. And so I'm very glad that LAMS gave me that opportunity to explore different courses, and I'm equally excited that the LLM at Cambridge will provide me, the variety of subjects to explore further. In terms of my career plans, um, I currently don't have any in the sense that I know that eventually down the line I would like to do a PhD, and eventually in 10 years or so, God willing, I would like to join the legal academia. However, before that, or like after my LLM, I would love to um, join human rights organizations, international law organizations, think tanks, research firms, because I believe those are my strengths in terms of skills and areas of interest. And I believe that my prime motivation in my law degree is now to be able to work towards um, law reform, policy reform that benefits us as citizens of countries, as citizens of the world. And I think we need to start focusing more attention towards human rights institutions, international law institutions, and because again, the current climate that we are living in, especially the sort of conflicts that we are witnessing, particularly in Palestine and Israel, that it sheds light that no matter what, like we need to prioritize human rights, and we need to invest in better mechanisms for the enforcement and implementation of human rights around the world. And so I do think that is sort of career that I'm more inclined towards. Again, this does depend on the sort of opportunities that do avail to me. Um, but yeah, I am going forward with a very open mind, and I'm open to as many opportunities that may present themselves. Again, because limiting yourself or like having this tunnel vision of, say, I want to join this particular firm or this particular field may not necessarily result in you being very happy with your job or like not liking your work. So yeah, I would say that I'm having a very open mind about this right now, and just wherever life takes me, I guess.
So, Ross, if I were to ask to give advice or maybe some tip to law students who are doing law, or maybe students who are thinking about doing law, so what would be your advice to them?
I would say as much as so if you are set on studying law, I think it's equally important that you study other subjects. I think it's equally important that you study particularly humanity subjects, sociology, political science, philosophy, English literature. That really helps with improving your reading and your grasp over the language. I myself did a minor in English literature. I have an interest in literature, and that the sort of skills that the critical reading skills that I developed in those courses proved to be very, very useful in my law degree. So my advice would be to explore as many other subjects as you can, because we need to realize that law in and of itself is not a singular institution. It's an institution. It's a concept that relies on the interaction of various other social forces. The sort of laws that a country passes again depends on the political structure. It depends on the social norms that are prevalent. It depends on the type of interpersonal relations that exist. Um, it depends on economics, of course. So you need to be able to understand that studying law in isolation is not the best way to go about, or the best way to maximize the utility of that degree. Explore as many other subjects as possible, and wherever you do try and relate them to law. So like I remember during my English literature minor, I would try and write my final essays, even though they were supposed to be literature based. I would try to bring in law, and recently I wrote an essay on the jurisprudence of dystopian fiction, and that's being published, I think, in the next volume of the LUMS Law Journal. And that shows that you can bring in law with other subjects, and like that will provide a very strong commentary on the sort of conditions that prevail in society, because at the end of the day, your ability to relate law to other matters is in itself grounds for improving the legal system, grounds for improving how law is actually recognized and respected in that particular area. So that would be my advice. My second advice would be, um, just manage your time wisely, because yes, there are a lot of readings, and I don't think Sir Zubair is going to like this, but I didn't do all of my readings. I would try to divide them up and like do portions of them, or like just skim. It really helps if you have like a group of friends within, um, like within your law school group, because then you'll be able to divide cases amongst yourselves. Because I remember we used to have like 5 6 cases, each being like 50 pages long for each class, and we would have like 3 classes a day. And so it really helps if you all divide up cases and you have like a collective. So we had a Google Doc. It really helps if you have that. And yeah, just time management is very important, as I said. But do delegate tasks or do divide tasks up between several people, because it does make it a lot easier to do that. So yeah.
I think, Ross, that has been an amazing session. Like all good things, this session must also come to an end. I'm really grateful to you for taking time for not only for this session but also for rendering advice to young law students. And we wish you good luck for your career and for your studies. And I look forward to welcoming you to the UK.
Sure,
And
sir.
when you come and in Heathrow or in London, um, so you'll find that you have a host here. That's me. And when you eventually come to Cambridge, either I will visit you or I'll invite you to visit Oxford, and then we'll continue our discussion on Islam and human rights where we have actually left today.
Sure, sir. Yes. We'll
Okay.
finish it then.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you for our viewers who have an engaging interactions with us. And we shall be bringing more of the legal eagles to you. And if you think you're a legal eagle and you're shy, please come to us and contact us. We want to show the world that you are the legal eagle. You have the potential to change and make a contribution in the legal field. So, Ross, thank you very much again, and looking forward to seeing you in the UK, in Cambridge, and in Oxford.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.